Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in the Gospel of Mark. We're going to conclude a very important chapter 13 with this lesson. So let's go to block 1 and take a look at the text. And it is an apocalyptic text. But in those days following that distress, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, people will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. He will send his angels and gather the elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth and the ends of heaven. Now learn the lesson of the fig tree. As soon as the twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things happening, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. But about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, not even the Son, but only the Father. Be on guard, be alert. You do not know when that time will come. It's like a man going away. He leaves the house and puts the servants in charge, each with their assigned task, and tells one at the door to keep watch. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back, whether in the evening or at midnight or when the rooster crows or at dawn. Very Jewish apocalyptic literature here. We're talking about the eschaton, absolutely. And we're talking about the eschaton after it follows tribulation. And the description is that of a cataclysmic event very similar to that which happened at the crucifixion, when the sky was darkened and when the earth shook. It's a very similar description of what will be seen in the crucifixion. And the message, of course, from Christ is the message we have today. You are living in the end times. And what Christ has been trying to teach the disciples all through the second half of the Gospel of Mark is you need to start thinking in a new way. You need to live eschatologically, and you need to think according to noesis. Remember, he rebuked Peter for not thinking in a new way, for thinking according to sensate, finite reality. And he rebuked Peter and said, no, you're not thinking in the right way. Think according to spirit. Think as if you are living in the realm of spirit, because you are living in the realm of spirit. Therefore, think according to noesis. If you are living in the realm of spirit, think according to the activity of spiritual perception. Surface reality is not the real. The genuine reality is spiritual. It lies behind surface reality. Christ keeps teaching the disciples again, and again, you need to think in a new way. You need to live an eschatological life. You need to anticipate the coming of the kingdom in your next future moment. Your life needs to be an eschatological life. And you need to practice the activity of noesis. Let's go on to block 2 and take a look at the commentary by Ruckman, Edwards, and Hegel. Okay. Ruckman, the Holy Spirit is poured out on all persons until the second advent. The falling stars, that's symbolic language for messengers or angels. Christ is referred to as the brightest star of Revelation 22. Christ will return as the judge, Son of Man, Matthew 19. and Christ will come in clouds of doxa glory. Edwards. Christ proclaims here that there is hope for the future in spite of the upcoming passion of the cross that he has told the disciples about, but there is hope for the future. He will return in glory. Christ uses a strong narrative of Jewish apocalyptic. It does read as a meta-historical event. These are events that will supersede and transcend natural history. In a way, Christ is also strengthening himself for the upcoming passion. He tells the disciples that the cross will not be the end. Even though chaos and darkness attempt to engulf Christ in God-forsakenness, the resurrection will gain victory over that cross of God-forsakenness. Chaos and darkness will not win out. The resurrection will conquer chaos. The resurrection will conquer darkness. The resurrection will reverse God abandonment. God-forsakenness will be overcome in the resurrection. And the ascension will be followed by the return of Christ and the parousia. The passion is not going to be the end. It's going to be one aspect, but the disciples will learn later to always view the passion through the resurrection, to always view the passion through the reality of the ascension. And today we view the crucifixion always through the reality of the resurrection. We never look at the crucifixion other than looking at it through the resurrection. As believers, we believe in a resurrected, God-forsaken Christ. We believe in a resurrection that gained victory over all God-forsakenness. Christ took up God-forsakenness into the cross, and it was defeated in the resurrection. We only view the cross through the resurrection, and we live eschatological lives. We live lives that seek to participate in and take up the activity of noesis, and we're going to talk about that right now in Hegel. Go to Block 2, Note 3. The inner process working through history is the idea, capital I for Hegel. It is the idea, which John 1:1 calls the logos, or actually it's logos, but L-O-G-O-S. Everybody calls it logos, but those are short O's, not long O's. It's really logos. It's pronounced logos. And the logos is an inner process that is the real reality, the genuine reality behind our surface reality. It's the genuine spiritual sovereign history working through our finite history. It is the inherent reason of history. It is the eschatological divine universal. It is revealed to us as a knowable worldview pattern, and when we grasp it as the working and the process of noesis. Hegel called this, one thing he called it was the cunning of reason. The cunning of reason. At different times, Hegel gave different names to certain realities. The realm of absolute spirit is sometimes called by Hegel the realm of the idea, capital I. It's also called the realm of the cunning of reason, meaning the eternal logos. So a lot of times Hegel uses different names to describe the realm of absolute spirit. And in this lesson, we're looking at the 5 aspects of noesis, where the inner process for Hegel is called the idea, capital I, idea. the divine idea, the divine sovereign idea of redemption. It is an inherent reason within history. It is eschatological. It is universal. And it reveals itself to us as a knowable worldview pattern. When we grasp that knowable worldview pattern, as Ross taught us in past sermons, we are participating in the activity that Christ wants us to take up, the spiritual activity of noesis, spiritual perception, spiritual interpretation, spiritual comprehension. Remember our last lesson, Christ wants his disciples to take up the activity of noesis, spiritual perceiving. Live your life eschatologically, live your life by perceiving the inner process of the idea of redemption working through history, perceiving the universal sovereign plan of the divine as a knowable worldview pattern. Live and think according to the activity of noesis, spiritual perception. We're going to close out by looking at verse 32 in block 3, which is interesting. Concerning that day and that hour, no one can perceive it, not the angels, not even the Son, if not, here you go in the Greek, if not for the fruition and the fulfillment of the Father. Note 2, the fulfillment of the divine eschatology is a role designated for the Father according to Christ. We need to understand that. We believe in a triune Godhead. The fulfillment of the divine eschaton is a role designated for the Father according to Christ. According to Christ, the assurance of the fulfilled eschaton rests in the Father. The promise of the Father, that is where our assurance lies. Memorize that note 2 in block 3. The fulfillment of the divine eschatology is a role designated for the Father according to the Son. As a recap, go to block 2, note 3. We're going to look at those 5 aspects of noesis again. The inner process working through history is the idea, capital I. It is the inherent reason of history. It is the eschatological universal of history. It reveals itself to us as a knowable worldview pattern. When we grasp that knowable worldview pattern, we are partaking in the activity of noesis. Hegel called this the cunning of reason. Hegel called this the cunning of reason, a name he gave to the logos. He called it the cunning of reason. That's the additional 5 aspects of noesis from this lesson. I've got a big circle around block 2, note 3, all 5 aspects of noesis. That wraps up a very, very powerful chapter 13. The entire chapter was very powerful. And it's a chapter on eschatology, tribulation, judgment. Very, very powerful chapter. And next lesson we will begin chapter 14.